Good day, everyone. I am Xyryl Carriedo, and now we will tackle about the audience and criticism of the theater production. So, what is audience in theater production? So, the audience drives every aspect of developing a theatrical performance. Initially, the audience serves the role of driving the content of the play or performance itself. The audience is an essential part of theatrical performance. Audience perception of stage events completes the creative process, and audiences invariably form their own interpretations of the stage events and their significance. Then, the artists who make the performance typically work to evoke a desired audience response. And then, watching a performance. So attending a play differs in several ways from going to a film. And letter B, although there are no rules about how we experience a theatrical performance, the experience is generally most interesting if first, the audience is willing to pay attention, concentrate and engage their imagination, and then second, the use of theatrical conventions, especially the unfamiliar ones, it may require an audience's imagination, and then the directors seek to direct the audience attention, but complete control of audience attention or focus is impossible to achieve. And then the size and configuration of the auditorium affects audience response. So, who is the audience? Theater's audiences vary widely. So there are children, there are seniors, there are adults. So it varies widely. So whereas some theaters select plays to appeal to the broadest possible range of audience interest, others aim their selections towards the taste of a very particular group. Most theaters are concerned about attracting new audiences. So by attracting new audiences, it is not easy and sometimes alienates existing patrons. So some theaters receive funding to encourage racial or minority groups to attend. Some theaters cater exclusively to minorities. And some theaters challenge the audience to appreciate unfamiliar forms of theater. So how can theaters attract young audiences and those groups who normally don't go to the theater? So what they do is they do the outreach and educational programs. So alright, outreach and educational programs have met with some success. So let's move to the audience and critical perspective. So letter A, do we need a critical perspective to enjoy theater? A simple three-step process may allow us to better articulate our response to a theatrical event. So one has an experience. The second one is one analyzes the experience. One communicates one's response to another. So the professional critic needs a wide variety of theatrical experience, an understanding of the practices and processes that make up a production. So usually, the critic has a particular audience and purpose in mind. So the general public or a specialized audience, the academics, artists, and some critics see themselves as consumer guides. The best criticism requires attention to both excellence and shortcomings. Some critics may provide less than balanced discussion, and some critics may provide description without passing judgment. Some critics may be condescending or flippant, but such criticism breeds antipathy. The basic problems of criticism. So the critic is concerned with three basic problems. So the first, the understanding. So what were the playwright, director, and other theater artists trying to do? So you must understand that. And then the effectiveness. How well did they do it? What's the rating of their performances? So ultimate, and the third one is the ultimate worth. How valuable was the experience? Is it worth it? That's it. So critics may follow several paths to answer questions relating to understanding. Okay, so some may study the playwright, the script, and the production team's stated goals. So some may attend the production with no preconceived notions. Critics may have to write about the performance of a play they know little about. And then to answer questions related to effectiveness, some critics may focus on the play's intention or the director's interpretation. So some directors' interpretations are at variance with a play's intentions. So any response to ultimate worth assumes some standard against which worth can be measured. So assessment of ultimate worth is related to individual perspective and values. Many contexts are used in evaluating relative worth. So first, we have the uncovering the stated or implied criteria in a review can be very instructive. And then we should define for ourselves what makes a production satisfying or not. So in assessing our own critical stance, here are some questions one might ask. So first, am I open to unfamiliar subjects, ideas, or conventions? So that's the one question in assessing our own critical stance. So another one, in theater, am I uncomfortable with moral stances that differ from my own? And then the next one, what standards do I use in judging a play or performance, and why? So developing a critical response, ask the three major questions of critical assessment. So what are those three major questions? So first is, what was attempted? Second one, how fully was it accomplished? Then, how valuable was the experience? And then, elaborate with other major questions, like what play was performed? Who is the author? What information about the author's script is important for understanding the production? Where and when did the performance take place? Will there be additional performances? Who was involved in the production? Producer, director, actors, designers, and etc. What were the apparent goals of the script or production? How effectively and fully were the goals realized? Either in the directing, in acting, or design elements. And then, should others see it? Why? So, that's the major questions that you need to elaborate on your own. So, the last one is the qualities needed by the critic. So, a critic should strive to be, number one, sensitive to feelings, images, and ideas. Number two, as well acquainted as possible with the theater of all periods and of all types. Number three, willing to explore plays and their production processes. Tolerant of innovation. Number five, aware of his or her own prejudices and values. And then articulate and clear in expressing judgments and their basis. And then the last one is being courteous. So that's all for the audience and criticism in theater production. Thank you for listening.